Good morning. Thank you all for coming today. Hope you all had a minute to get over to the vendors next door this morning. It's my pleasure this morning to carry on our discussion about women in club management. And as a reminder, this builds on the programs that our association already has in place. And it's my hope that there's something here for everyone. And again, as a reminder from our discussion yesterday, there's two prongs here. One is education support for our women leaders, and the other is education for our mentors. So today we have a short presentation from our committee, chaired by Kelly Grabowski, and following that we'll have Shelley McDougall here also for a presentation. So I'll come back a little later and tell a little story, but I'm right now going to introduce Kelly Grabowski to get us started. Thank you. Nope, sorry.
That's okay. Smallest podium ever. All right, thank you everyone. Thank you for coming back. We'll get you out in time for lunch. So nurturing greatness, again, like Michael said, this is two prongs. So we're speaking to everybody in this room. I know it's women in club management, and obviously we're women in club management, but we're speaking to everybody in the room. Is that gonna work? Yeah, there we go. All right, so today's agenda, we're just gonna go through really quickly. We're gonna intro our committee members. We're gonna each speak on the core values that we have established as a committee that's important to this initiative. And then we're gonna give as much time as we can for Shelley McDougall, and then hopefully we'll have time for Q&A at the end. All right, so I would be remiss if I didn't give a warm and gracious kind of round of applause we'll start with for this fantastic committee that I have standing up here with me. I am honored to be up here with this group. When they say, you know, call on your people, when you call people and you say, hey, we have this great idea and we'd love to have it roll out for summer conference, and oh, by the way, we have 3 months to get it together. Can we be on a weekly Zoom call? And they say yes. These are the people that you want to surround yourselves with. So I'm very lucky to have them on this committee, that they all agreed, and they're all super excited to be up here on the stage right now. I think we're all a little nervous. We'll just throw that out there. We're all a little nervous, right? We are not all professional speakers, so bear with us. So it's a shared passion, you know, diversity. We have an array of backgrounds on this stage. We're talking about an array of backgrounds. That's what makes clubs great. That's what makes clubs great in your team. That's what makes clubs great in your membership, the diversity, all of the different ideas. That's what keeps us growing and thriving as an organization. So with, again, 3 months of execution, we had weekly, what I call my power hours. I looked forward to these hour sessions, and they were work, right? And we're doing our full-time job, and this was work, but it was like my uplifting hour. It was kind of my Zen moment, and I looked forward to being with these ladies every week and just learning from them and collaborating, and you know, this was certainly a group effort. So find your group, find your person that inspires you, that builds you up. So our mission statement, and I'm gonna read it directly from, hopefully. The foundational purpose of this group is to advance the development of women in club management through educational initiatives, networking opportunities, and mentorship in a safe community. Now, while the core initiative is women, we're reaching out to everyone. Again, we want young professionals. We want folks that maybe are in clubs that don't have a lot of funding to get education. We're reaching out and kind of putting our arms around everyone. You know, the cliche, I guess, is that women are nurturing and mothering. Well, that's what we're doing. So that's part of the Women in Club Management Initiative, is we kind of want to wrap our arms around everybody in the community. So our objective is to promote diversity, inclusion, and commitment, and to refine talent equity, again, nurturing greatness, our foundational core value, as we strive to empower the exceptional women, men, young professionals, students of the Florida chapter, and beyond. So with that, we'll go into our core values. So our acronym is TEACH. Again, how do we nurture greatness? Teaching, we should always be learning. I think that our speaker this morning was a fantastic, we couldn't have planned that any better, Beth, segue into what we're trying to accomplish here. So teach, trust, equal opportunity, authenticity, community, and harmony. And the lovely ladies on this stage are going to take us through each of those, and it is my extreme pleasure to, and I'll just quickly, I made a phone call a few years ago, right? Take the jump, make the call. Luann Giovanelli was a 1 for me, and I had read about her, I knew about her in circles, and wanted her to mentor me. And so I made the call, and it was the most terrifying call I may have ever made, because what she could say no, right? And we don't like to be, disappointed. We don't like to have rejection. And thankfully, she said yes, and now she's one of my very dear friends. So without further ado, Luann Giovanelli.
Thank you, Kelly. Good morning, my tribe. My word on the committee is trust. And the Oxford Dictionary defines trust as the firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or the strength of someone or something. But I like the Cambridge version much better, which is simply to believe that someone is good and honest and will not harm you. I also like to create psychological safe spaces in both my personal and my work life that allows the people around me to express themselves, take risks, make mistakes, without fear of judgment or negative consequences. And I think collectively, our committee envisions this endeavor as the ultimate psychological safe space, a place where trust is paramount. If you research the elements of trust, there are so many. The ones on the screen are my personal favorites, so we're going to dive into those. Self-orientation, what does that mean? Be present. It's really nice to see everyone in this room. I know many of you. You're always very present. You're always willing to learn and listen without distraction and acknowledge people's feelings. So we want to create that in our group and in our phone calls and in our events, that self-orientation. The next is credibility. What we say and how we communicate, building a level of confidentiality within our group and within our community, where we're all helping each other all the time. And non-judgment. We all come from different backgrounds and life experience and different generations. I like to call this the chapter you wrote in on. I wrote in on chapter 1958, and Kelly wrote in on chapter 1980. I always hate it when I hear people my age say, oh, these young people, they don't know stuff. Well, guess what? They don't know stuff because there's this huge gap of life experience that Kelly, I know that Kelly doesn't know, but Kelly knows things I don't as well. So being in an environment of non-judgment and helping each other and being open-minded is key. The next element is generosity, and that sort of ties into the non-judgment for me because I'm a firm believer that the elders in the tribe should teach the young. But I also believe that the elders should listen to the young. As an example, Marco is here from Bay Colony. He is my food and wine director. Marco is 35 years my junior, and I speak with him all the time, and I will tell you there is never an instance that I don't walk away having learned something from Marco. So we can all learn from each other and create a benevolent interaction and give grace to each other. My last element on the list of trust is integrity. My motto in life is there is no right way to do the wrong thing. So I'd like in this group and in this community to create an environment where we are helpful, we always do the right thing, and we choose courage over comfort. All of these elements also apply to self-trust. So it's arguably the foundation of your trust with others whenever you can build these elements within yourself. So I now have the honor of introducing Michaela Milhouse to talk to you about equal opportunity.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. Talking about nervous, just bear with me. It's a pleasure to find myself here in front of you, as I shared earlier on, for someone that came to this country in 2011, and the English level was negative. Being here, it's a true honor and being part of this great initiative. I find myself here today to speak and address a topic that is not only crucial to the success of our clubs, but also to the advancement of our society. Equal opportunities for men and women in the private club industry. The way we're gonna tap into this subject is through the Golden Circle, which is a concept that was created by Simon Sinek, which inspires cooperation, trust, and change. Based on those three concentric circles, we will be touching on inclusion, equality, and diversity. And those are not only buzzwords. Those are the cornerstone of a thriving and dynamic organization. In the private club industry, where we pride ourselves on creating memorable experiences for our members, it is imperative that we reflect these values in our leadership and management practices. By focusing on these pillars, women in club management will not only empower men and women, but will also foster a community of belonging and growth. Inclusion, equality, and diversity are not just ethical imperatives, they are business imperatives. As a firm believer of net weaving, which is a concept that was created by Mr. Bob Littell, and I strongly encourage you to look into it, just think about paying it forward. At some point, someone took a chance on you. Now it's your chance to create that equal opportunity for someone that's coming up. Together, we can make an impact and ensure that our community continues to grow for generations to come. I thank you for your support, and thank you for allowing me to be here today. It is a great pleasure to introduce Barb Svensson to speak on community, and she's someone that I admire and I strive to be one day.
It's okay. Sorry, not Barb. All right, smallest podium ever. So we're going to talk on authenticity before Barb gets up and talks about community. So authenticity, what does that mean? I think we are all being authentically kind of nervous and a little vulnerable right now. So to thine own self be true, Hamlet got it right so long ago, but we often don't do it, especially in this industry. We are people pleasers. That's what we do. We're hospitality people. We find what drives other people and what they want, and we manipulate ourselves into boxes, and we wear masks literally sometimes at the club, right? Halloween and Mardi Gras and whatever, to fit into what other people need. But are we really being truly authentic to ourselves? Are we filling our cup? Are we truly who we should be? And sometimes we think, you know, we've grown up and we had parents or grandparents in my situation that put you on a path, and that was the path. You were going to go to college and you were going to be successful, and you were going to, she was not crazy about the fact that I was going to be a chef, but that's here nor there. She's happy now. I wear a suit every day. But was it being truly authentic? So now is your gut check moment for everybody in the room. I don't care if you've been in this business for 40 years. Are you at the right club? Are you with the right people? Are you surrounding yourselves inside and outside of work with your tribe, with your circle of people? And this is not always easy. Authenticity, I call it authenticity in progress. I don't think we ever master this, right? We should be learning and adapting every day, because authenticity makes us look at ourselves, and that is not always fun. We don't like to do that, right? We don't like to take that, yesterday Randy talked about it, that makeup mirror, 10 times. That's a scary image sometimes in the morning. But that's what you need to do to really get to the core of this. So getting to know yourself, getting to know what makes you tick, what really drives you. I suggest, and I know it's hard when we're club people, try being alone. Try having some quiet time. I bike every morning now, one of the most cathartic things I've ever done. It's my time, and you have to be alone with yourself, and that could be scary. But it's also, okay, why am I reacting the way it makes you evaluate things. Why did I react that way to that situation? Why did I get upset when my 13-year-old didn't think that I was the smartest person in the room? Nobody else can appreciate that, can they? Yeah, see? Okay, the parents in the room. Or your team members. How are you you are now the dumbest person in the room, right? So take that time. Why did I react that way? And how can I be better, and how can I change? And sometimes it's an internal change, and sometimes it's a situational change. It's, again, surrounding yourself with different people or making a change to a different club. For the younger ones in the room, make sure that you're finding that right club. Find your authenticity now. Don't go after that club because they post really cool stuff on LinkedIn and Instagram, but you do the interview and something in your gut tells you it's not the right fit. It's not the right fit. So when you go into that interview and you try to make yourself what that job wants or should be, it's not a tenable situation because you are never, ever going to be happy there. And you're not doing the membership or your team a service by being somebody that you're not, by not being truly authentic to yourself. Embrace your uniqueness. Hot pink shoes. 12 years ago when I came to my first summer conference, I was in all black because I wanted to not stand out and I wanted to blend in with everyone. And I didn't ask questions, and I pretended I understood everything everyone was talking about, and it was the dumbest thing I could have ever done because I was not being authentic to, I'm brand new here, and I don't know what I'm doing. But you don't want to say that as a manager because then people judge you or discount you. That's not true, not in this group, I will tell you. Okay, I've been in this association over 12 years. They embrace that. The more vulnerable I made myself, the more I learned and the more I grew. And I actually got feedback from people that went, you know, you were kind of a snot back then. You didn't talk to anybody. And I said, I wasn't a snot. I was terrified. That's why I didn't talk to anybody. So really, I implore you to get out of your own way, essentially, and you will be amazed at the friendships and the connections that you make and how it helps to build your career. You know, again, allowing yourself to be vulnerable. Practicing mindfulness. Some of these things are painful, but they are worthwhile, I promise you. So, and then surround yourself with people who support you. I look forward to these conferences every year. You are all of our people. You're my people. We get each other. We talk to each other. We have the same experiences at different clubs. Surround yourself with that community. And if you haven't met somebody or you don't know, walk up to them. Introduce yourself. And for the tenured managers in the room, walk up to somebody that you've never met and introduce yourself because everybody might know who you are. You're up on the screen, they see you at conference, they see people talking to you, but they're afraid to approach you. You make that step and you go up and introduce yourself. And I will tell you, you will change someone's life. So without further ado, I will welcome Barb to talk about community.
I'm so glad I don't have to sing the Flintstones song up here. So what makes a community? Many hands and one mission. I am just a fitness director amongst this powerhouse team of women. But the truth is that every position in our clubs is equally as important to the success of our season. We are hopeful that we gather members from every department within the clubs on this committee, on this community. Then we will host the perfect blend of people to get the job done. When a group of people collectively believe in a goal that was created together and different aspects come together, different skill sets, amazing things start to happen. The second attribute we're going to talk about is belonging. And this can be done in several ways, like networking, joint projects, attending these conferences, or simply supporting each other. Most of us like rewards and a greater financial boost in our paycheck, but all of us thrive on recognition and the kudos of doing an excellent job. We love those win-win circumstances and the feeling that goes with it amongst our teams. Noteworthy teams make every effort seem flawless, sometimes paddling underwater like a frantic duck, but assuming the identity of the swan from above. The third attribute is culture, and culture provides both a sense of identity and a sense of belonging. It connects community members to the mission, the traditions, and the shared values, fostering a sense of unity and pride. I am sure the word culture makes you think of your own clubs and the feeling it derives for you and your members. Cultural values are the core principles and ideals in which a community exists and can best be learned through experience. One identifiable culture, and one of my favorites, is Zumba. And perhaps the first image that comes to your mind is a high-energy dance workout pulsating with vibrant music. However, Zumba is much more. It's a global movement that brings people together, fostering a powerful sense of connection. Tie into that the strong community presence and charitable causes, and you have a catalyst for social connection and community building. Can you see the similarities between the Zumba culture and those that we've created through the Florida CMAA? That passion is exactly what we envision as we work together to get us noticed in the Florida chapter. The fourth attribute, thriving communities create clear and open channels of communication. When members feel comfortable sharing what is and isn't working, they feel more invested, and they're likely to stay active. The best form of communication is expression of appreciation. And Kelly, who is not energy neutral, she starts and ends all of our meetings and even her emails with gratitude and appreciation for our presence together. She, as well as this entire committee, are all fantastic relationship builders. Tim Sanders, one of our past presenters, has once said, relationships are built and sustained over time by a give-give mentality. It's a virtuous cycle of sharing love and cooperation. I have identified 4 key aspects of the women in club management community. Identity, where we all bring something unique to the table. Belonging in a safe space to learn and explore. In a culture that is diverse with equal opportunities for all. Built with communication and relationships that are genuine and trustworthy. When leaders immerse themselves in a deep understanding of the community's values, skills, and ideals, they are equipped to guide their team toward a success that creates harmony. Harmony, which is our 5th core value, and for that, I present Lorraine Vianney. Thank you.
I'm going to move the mic right off the stand. Good morning, everybody. I'm Lorraine Vienne, and I'm so honored to be up here with this group of women here today and putting this initiative forward. So my word is harmony, which is the agreement of actions or ideas. And many of the topics that we've just talked about creates harmony. Now, I imagine that many of you in the audience here today are either married or are in a long-term commitment with someone else. Are you aware that the shortest sentence in the English language consists of 2 words? They are, I do. That leads to the longest commitment that you will ever make in your life. But to be successful in that commitment, it takes harmony. It takes the principles of empathy and understanding, collaboration, inclusiveness, and open and transparent communication. And if you practice these principles on a regular basis, they will lead you to a very successful relationship in what you do in your personal life. These are very transferable skills in your work life as well. So when you bring these skills of open and transparent communication, empathy and understanding, collaboration, and inclusiveness over into your work life, you will prepare yourself to have a more engaged team and engaged employees, very important in a successful workplace. You will have bigger, enhanced employee experiences, which again leads to a cohesive team in the ideas and the agreements that you as a leader bring forth with your team. And it also helps you to create that cohesive relationship for your members as well. So I encourage you to practice harmony both in your personal life and in your work life as a leader. I now have the great pleasure to reintroduce Michael File, who's going to tell us and share a story with us, and then we're going to introduce our speaker, Shelley McDougall, who doesn't need any introduction. But first, Michael, please.
Okay, perfect. That sounds great. Well, wow. Just wow. It has really been my honor to work with all of you to launch this program, and I'd like to ask us all to have a round of applause for those that help us do something. I wanted to share with you all this morning a story. It's a little emotional for me, but why this is important for me personally. I want to talk about one of our fellow managers, Donna Otis, some of you may know. She was the general manager of the bridges at Rancho Santa Fe out in California. We worked together over some multiple clubs over 12 or 13 years' time. And like the people with us, she was a superstar. And she was one of the original CMAA fellows and national board member, what have you. And I was fortunate to be one of her mentors along the way until she passed away from cancer. And she took my job as a general manager in California when I moved to New York. And she would tell me after that happened that the board would treat her differently, and for reasons she thought because she was a woman. And sometimes they excluded her from some financial or strategic discussions and what have you. So we worked together to try to address that through the course of time. So it caused me to ask some questions of my own through the course of my career of how could this be so different for her, for people who are proven leaders in our industry. So, as we launch this, it's our hope that we want to be certain that we're providing good tools to help our leaders be successful. So with that, Lorraine, if you would help us introduce Shelley. Shelley and I have worked together too for the course of time, and so we're just so delighted to have you here. A wonderful mom and coach and speaker with all of us, but Lorraine, if you would, we'd be delighted to have you introduce her. Thank you, everybody.
I don't know that I need to do any more than what Michael just said. My wonderful friend, colleague, and the extraordinary leader that I know her as, who does do coaching sessions for all of us through CMAA, which is a wonderful attribute that we all are able to receive, Shelley McDougall.
Wow. It was the winter of 1992. I'm not sure what was the thing, the chapter I wrote in on? No, that wasn't 1992, but this was the winter of 1992, and her name was Ann Townsend. And Ann was the general manager of my hometown golf and curling club. Yes, I'm Canadian. And yes, Michael File has agreed to come and learn how to curl. She was the general manager of my local golf and curling club. She was one of 3 woman managers in my country at the time in 1992. I'd known her for about a decade or more, and I was absolutely in awe. Anne was the person who, when she walked in the room, the first thing you saw, of course, was her immaculate dress, this presence that was unbelievable. She had the statue of just a king and a queen, and she brought with her amazing intelligence. As well as that, she brought the ability to work with and deal with every kind of person. And more than that, she had a heart of gold. She was truly extraordinary. I had admired her for many, many years, and she and I had many conversations about what she did. I was in awe, and I was always intrigued. And it was in this time, in the winter of 1992, I finally found myself back in my hometown for just a short period of time, and I called her up and had the conversation. And it was at that time that I decided that I would let her know I would like to be a club manager. At the time I was thinking I wanted to be like her, and I also wanted to be her. I didn't know much about club management or the industry, but I knew that that's what I wanted to be. And so what did Anne do? She took me by the hand, she quickly put me to work, and then she led the way. It was very quick. She introduced me to everybody I needed to know in the industry, and it was several long hauls. It was the 6-hour drives to the club management meetings, and it was telling me and showing me everything she could about what was possible for me. It was in one of those meetings. In fact, it was actually not in one of the meetings. It was in the after meeting. You know, the meeting after the club management meeting? Do you know what I mean? Sometimes we call it the after party, right? It was in one of those meetings when she gathered her posse together and they all decided they would figure out what I would do, how I would get into this business of club management. And they decided that I didn't need any more education. My education was fine, but what I really needed is to get into the right club. And they knew the right club, and it was then up to her. She made the phone call to a friend and colleague of hers. His name was Jim Powell. He was the CEO of one of the leading clubs in my country. And she said, I have someone that you need to meet. And they had a conversation. I don't know what happened in the conversation, but he agreed to meet with me. I think he had said originally he could meet in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and she said, no, Jim, you need to meet her, and you need to meet her now. And within a few short days, I was driving 6 hours to Calgary to meet with the CEO of an amazing club. He gave me an entire day, and after that, offered me a job they didn't even have. And as we often say, the rest is history. Not only is the rest history, but that was the time that changed my life. Isn't it interesting how as leaders, we have the ability to influence, to lead along, and we have the ability to change people's lives? I had the opportunity to be at that great club for just over 10 years. And it was 18 years ago that I made the decision that as much as I loved this business, I also needed to, and we've talked about authenticity, I needed to really be me. And the best way I could do that would be to not be in the club industry, but to support it. And so I ventured out 18 years ago. Some of you have met my business partner Kevin McDonald, and joined forces to support from the outside the club industry. And I can say, what a ride. What a ride. And so I've had the privilege for the last 18 years to support so many people in CMAA and around actually the world through world conferences and our coaching, through team development and what we do. But most of all, it's to meet many of you and many of your colleagues around the nation, to find out really what makes you tick, how you work, what's important to you. And much of that has been said over the last couple of days, but isn't it interesting? I think my role really is to nurture greatness. I hope that it is. And so as a coach, I have the privilege to do that. I also think, though, that that's your role as well, to nurture greatness, to bring out the best in others, to find and see in them what they may not even see in themselves. I think that's your role. We can get caught up, though, can't we? Every single one of us in the day-to-day sort of happenings, in the everyday doing, in the everyday out on the floor, in the everydayness of what we do. Yesterday, Sebastian Younger said, in the intoxicating details of going forward for an ambitious career, we get caught up in the intoxicating details of everyday life. And I think we forget that our role is to nurture greatness. And so today I wanted to, just in this brief time together, to offer a few ideas for you about nurturing greatness. Yeah, do you want me to take it? Thank you. First of all, I would say that everything starts with an intention. And the women that you see up here, along with Mr. File here, have gathered together to start with a great intention. The intention of nurturing from wherever you are. It doesn't matter your gender or your age or the chapter that you wrote in on, right? That it's all about bringing together, and it all starts with an intention. It was so interesting last week. Luann was on the call, and a couple of you. We were on a women in club management call last week, which, by the way, I've had the privilege since 2018 to lead a national group of women in club management via Zoom calls and education. And it has been remarkable to see who comes to these calls and how everybody can support each other. Anyways, last week on a call, it was so interesting. We had a couple of seasoned women club managers with us on the call, and they were telling us that just a couple of decades ago, 2 and 3 decades ago, this was not a community. The women in club management actually weren't a community, but in fact, they were oftentimes in opposition. They were oftentimes in competition. They were in this man's world, and it was there's only so many positions kind of outlook, and they had to do whatever they could to get the next position. It wasn't a collaboration. It wasn't a community. And what's so cool and so refreshing is that this is now a community. It's a community regardless, again, of gender. You pick your community that decides to come together to make everybody else better. That's a different place to show up from. And so everything does start with an intention. Every month, Kevin McDonald and I have the opportunity to write and add to our blog post at CMAA National. You can find it under, I think it's CMAA Coaching Blog. And a couple of months ago, I wrote an article that says, "When a flower doesn't bloom." And of course, the rest of that quote is, "You fix the environment in which it grows, you don't fix the flower. You fix the environment. And so I wanted to just pose that question for you this morning to think about, what environment do you create? What environment do you create every single day? When you walk in, or before you walk in, or when you're in the midst of it all, what kind of environment do you create? Because more important than the seed that's in there or that we plant is the environment that we create. And isn't it interesting, as you create the environment, you get to know the flower, because it's really important to get to know what kind of flower you have. I think that's been talked about over the last couple of days, of looking for and finding the authentic you. And our role as leaders, isn't it, is to get to know our flowers. I don't know if the young gentleman is in the room from yesterday morning in Sebastian Younger's class, the young 29-year-old who stood up. Would you happen to be here in the room? And asked a question and was applauded. I want to applaud him, because as he stood up and was applauded, I think what I heard there was that even though everything on the outside is supposed to be good and everything is all wonderful, guess what? Sometimes on the inside, the flower isn't blooming. Think about the people around you, think about your team members and the times where the flower or they haven't been blooming. There's an interesting book that I think can really connect with us in that regard. Johann Hari wrote this book called Lost Connections. And the subtitle is really interesting and not that intriguing to buy the book. Uncovering the Real Causes of Depression and some of the unexpected solutions. I offer that, though, because I think he's really talking about how can we make sure that we are nurturing the flower and what happens when we're not at our best. Here's a beautiful quote from the book that I think makes a lot of sense and speaks to that young man's comment, and that is, you aren't a machine with broken parts. You're an animal whose needs are not being met. You need to have a community. You need to have meaningful values, not the junk values that you've been pumped full of all of your life, telling you that happiness comes from money and buying objects. You need to have a meaningful work. You need to have the natural world. You need to feel you're respected. You need a secure future. You need connections and to all of these things. And you need to release any shame that you might have felt for ever being mistreated. As a coach in nurturing greatness in others, there's a couple things that stand out there. One is our needs. I love that line. You're an animal with your needs not being met. And I don't know what needs he's talking about there, but when I have the privilege of coaching people just like you, we oftentimes look at this category of needs. And what we mean by needs is not your outward needs like food, water, shelter, those, from Maslow's hierarchy. We look further up and we look at what you need to be at your best, your personal and your emotional needs. And for some, it's a game changer. To understand that when you know what your needs are and you can get them met primarily by you, it's life-altering. I would make that invitation to everybody in the room. If you're not clear on what you need to be at your best and show up at your best, all it takes is a phone call and email, and we'll walk through that conversation with you. It can be life-altering. Here's what someone looks like. You know this. Someone who gets their needs met, vibrant, excited, a gatherer, a nurturer of people. The person that lights up the room, is happy, is having a wonderful life. They're getting their needs met. And oppositely, every single one of us knows what it's like when we're not. We're down. Our energy is low. We're judgmental. We see the worst in everything. We bring other people down. We sometimes treat people harshly that don't deserve to be treated that way. It's when our needs aren't getting met. And so my invitation for you is to make sure that you understand what your needs are and get them met. The second thing he talks about here, too, is our values. And we don't have to go far to hear what the world is thinking about us. We don't have to go far to find out what the world thinks we should be. And we always say, be careful of others. Don't let them should on you. because they're ready, aren't they? They're ready to tell us, the world, our society, of who we should be, where we should go, what job we should have next, yet, you know, the career path, all of that. And we just say be very careful of that. But get clear with your values. They will be the things that guide you. It's amazing in club management how we can get pulled astray and not be true to our values and who we really are. And so our invitation as you nurture others is to also at the same time to nurture you. As I mentioned, our job is really to create the environment. And I don't know what yours is at your club, but I know that there's a huge opportunity for you to elevate it. I don't know how much time and energy you put into it, but I know there's opportunity. I'll share a few ways. There was a couple of years ago a gentleman who comes to mind, and I'll talk about him in a moment. But he brought the idea that we're all questioning. And here's a question that we often I get in terms of coaching. I'll have someone say, because again, they've bought into what the club industry or someone else thinks that they should be. And the question is often, how do I develop my reputation in the club industry? How do I develop my reputation? And my answer is always, don't worry about your reputation. The things that you want to be concerned about are the things that you have control over. I want you to develop your mindset. Make sure it's that of a growth mindset. I want you to develop your character and your personal standards and develop your ability to connect and be with people and how you are when you show up. Those are the things that you have control over. You have no control over your reputation. So I would ask you to think about your character versus your reputation, and it will take you far. Kelly talked about authenticity. That's what we mean. And if there is one thing I would say that we need to re-inject into the club world, it's that. It's that. And so keep building your character. Keep building you. And don't worry so much about the outside. Some of our search firm friends don't like when I say this, but I tell almost everybody who's looking at career coaching, and I tell them that don't live your life by your resume. Because we have way too many people who are living their life based on the next best move. And I'm here to say it oftentimes isn't the best next move for your life. It may be for your career or the way someone else sees it, but be very careful about living your life by your resume. A couple of years ago, and this is back to our environment and how you might nurture that. A couple of years ago, I had a connection with a CEO of a company called the WD-40 company. Does everybody know that company? You know, the blue and yellow can that can you fix your door and all that? Yeah, WD-40 company. His name is Gary Ridge. This is a company that has thousands of employees around the world, and they're so focused on their people and culture that it leads their business. And their business exists because of their people and the culture they've created. They went so far as to create a culture statement. And I share it with you today. Imagine this, everyone. Imagine a place where you go to work each day, where you make a contribution to something bigger than yourself. You learn something new, you feel safe, you're protected and provided freedom by a set of values, and you go home happy. Imagine a place. And so I would ask you the question this morning, what is your culture statement? What is the statement that everybody in your club knows, every one of your team members knows to be true? What are we about? What are we for? And why am I here, right? If you don't have one, it might be the first great place to start in terms of nurturing greatness. I wouldn't be a coach if I didn't offer some opportunities, and so I wanted to bring along some today for you in case you're wondering, how do I nurture greatness? So I brought a few ideas, and they are not made up. They're directly from coaching sessions that have happened over the last year. Kevin and I got together and talked about the themes that club managers and club leaders are coming to us for coaching for, and I'm just going to share a few of them because they're a huge opportunity for nurturing greatness. The first is this one, and maybe some of you will smile, maybe you'll laugh, maybe you'll even get angry. But this one shows up all of the time, right? I know you're smiling and you're laughing, you're going, yeah, we get it. interestingly enough, and this is not going away, this idea of work and life balance, it's getting stronger, right? And there's a recent report I read from the Arbinger Institute, a trends report that says that work and life balance is now the #1 contributor to job satisfaction, more than money. I don't know if you feel that in your clubs or what's happening. Some of you are just saying, no, we just need to get people to work here, right? And show up on Sunday would be really great. So it's happening for your team, and it's also happening for you. We're noticing that club leaders are asking the question, how can I have a life? This is not a generational thing. This is everybody going, I actually want to have a life. I'm coaching right now a leader in the industry who has been at his club for some time. You might call him a seasoned veteran even. And he's at a crossroads, at a dilemma. Does he go in his last sort of chapter to a bigger and better opportunity, and all of his friends are encouraging him to go for that job? Or does he stay where he is in the place of a great club, great team, really great members who like him and want him to stay, and he has a life outside of work? And so he's been questioning this dilemma over the last few months, and we've had several conversations. He's come to a conclusion, and I think it was wrapped up last week when I sent him a quote that came by my desk from James Clear. He's the author of the book Atomic Habits, and if you haven't read that book, it's very worthwhile reading. And in James Clear's quote, he says, there are at least four types of wealth. There are financial wealth, which is obviously money. There is status wealth, position. There is time wealth, which is freedom. And number 4 is there's physical wealth, which is our health. So money, status, time, and our health. And the quote says, be careful of the jobs that lure you with number 1 and 2 and rob you of number 3 and 4. I sent him the quote. He quickly replies back and says, I get it. I'm making my decision, of course, on number 3 and 4. And he said, I've decided I'm going to make my life's decisions on number 3 and 4. Wow. And so it's not just our people, it's us who are looking to have balance in our life. Are we working to live, or are we living to work is the big question. So sometimes we help people through that. Maybe you could help someone on your team through that as well. I pulled this next category together, kind of a combination, but here's what people are saying as they come and ask for coaching. They're saying there's a lack of clarity in their job, in their career, and there's a lack of support. The topic is really lack of clarity of their job. What do they mean by that? Well, here's what we're finding. Some people aren't clear on what they're supposed to be doing. I know that sounds way out there for you, but some people are not clear. They're coming and saying that they're asked to do a whole bunch of things. They don't know what they're really being accountable for. They don't know what they're being judged by. They need some clarity in their job. So I want to offer, I don't know if there's anybody in your team that's unclear or if you're unclear, but there's some really simple ways to do that. And it's a way that you can nurture greatness. And that is simply, in fact, I've had somebody recently this week tell me that they started a new role as a GM and found that there were no job descriptions and there had been no employee performance reviews for years. None. Welcome. Welcome. So what can you do? Of course, you can create job descriptions. And job descriptions are great, of course, as you start out. But I would say go way beyond that, because who comes to work really and opens up their job description and says, oh, here's what I'm supposed to do today? Nobody. But I would say there's a simpler way. Here's one of the things that I share with some of the people that I work with, and that is create what I call from the job description and from the reality of what the job is, create a simple one-pager called your key result areas. It's taking all of those duties from the job description and putting them into 5 or 6 usually key areas, and in those key categories putting in the main tasks and the main responsibilities. Do that on one page. It will change everything. Here's how you use it. You can use it for clarity of the job, of course, first. You can use it for setting goals with that team member, works really well. You can use it for time management because you can take a look and see what percentage of my time am I putting into each of these areas? What percentage of my time should I be really putting into each of these areas? You can use it for you can use it for your team. It's really simple. If you want more information about it, let me know. I'd be happy to share some examples with you. So making sure that the job is clear. Making sure the career path or there's some opportunity in the career. It's not your job to help everybody with their career, but as we've heard, it might be your role to help nurture their career. Maybe you don't hold their hand and bring them along, but maybe you offer ideas. Even if you can't offer ideas, you can offer a simple career plan. In fact, I'd suggest, and picture this, if everyone in your club had a simple development plan for themselves. And if you can't picture every single person, picture every single leader having a clear development plan for them and their career, from what they know right now. Can you imagine what it would be like if everybody was clear on that? So I'd invite you, if you've never done that, to create that. Again, you want some more information, if I can help you, please let me know. But think about what happens what would happen if all of your team was clear on who they were, what they're doing, and where they were going. And that could include, yes, education, but it also can include skills that they could learn there, and it might be something that they connect with that they've never done before. That's the main thing. So you can help people in ways that you might not even realize. And then finally, support. People are lacking support. I know many of you are busy. I know we're caught up in the day-to-day, and sometimes we just don't have time. As soon as I mentioned to a leader that one of the best things you can do is meet regularly with your team, guess what the first response is? I don't have time. And I would respectfully say you don't have time not to. And so in the ideal world, I'd say meet with every single person that reports to you on a regular basis, like weekly. It doesn't have to be an hour or two. It might be 20 minutes. It might be the check-in, not you checking up on them, but them checking in with you. It's a game changer. You have time for 20 minutes with every single person. And then make sure at least once a month, you're not just talking about the duties and what they've checked off, what they've accomplished, but at least once a month, you're talking about them. How are you doing? How are you doing with the plan? It's so easy. It's like low-hanging fruit, and it's right there in front of us. So if you haven't got that practice, I would encourage you to do so. Again, we can talk through it if you'd like to, but it can be a game changer for people in support. Recently, I had a conversation with an assistant general manager who told me that the reason she found out about her annual performance, her annual salary increase was through her bank statement. And when she inquired about it, the answer back was, "You're doing fine, and I'll tell you when you're not." How can we support our people? It's low-hanging fruit. It's a conversation, right? About you, where you're going, and how we might support you. And every single one of us has the opportunity to support someone every single day. If it's not 20 minutes, it might be 5 minutes, it might be 3 minutes, just to check in, how are you? And so I'd invite you to take on that. If possible, you might be able to elevate your support for somebody else on your team or down the street or across the country. How can you support them? Another key topic that's, I think, low-hanging fruit is this idea of communication. Communication is something that we name as very important. We name it as club managers. We name it as leaders of our teams. And yet it's the number one thing that people talk about when we get together with teams or want to talk about, because it's the least perfected. And so here's what you can do as a leader of your people, is make sure you elevate the communication. It might be the actual information that gets dispelled. I was working with a team lately who the aha moment was this: they're just simply not communicating, and they're making assumptions about who's communicating what, and they're staying away from the difficult conversations because they don't want to offend anybody. And you know what that looks like and feels like. And I would say, how can you elevate your communication between you and your team and you and your club? And the number one thing out of communication that always comes up is feedback. How are you at feedback? What is your culture about in terms of feedback? Imagine a culture where feedback is information. It's just information that we share readily, and it's for the purpose of one thing: elevating. It's about elevating performance, it's about elevating service and hospitality, it's about elevating. And if you don't have that in your culture, I strongly suggest you create it, because it's one of the things that will make a difference for everyone. When everybody understands how to give feedback and how to receive it and not take it personally, everything changes. And you say, wait a minute, we're in the personal business, we're in the club industry. And I would say, please don't take anything personally. And so create that kind of environment where feedback is welcomed and encouraged and practiced every day in every area of your club. The next category I bring along is this one. I don't know if you've ever felt this, but some leaders are asking for a coaching conversation because their energy just isn't where they want it to be. Their passion just isn't there right now. And maybe it's their mojo just can't make it happen. Maybe it's been a tough season or a tough year, or maybe for some a tough 3 or 4 years after COVID. And so one of the things that we help do, I hope, is to help rejuvenate that. We help by doing some of the things that some of the ladies have talked about. You talked about the makeup mirror. My role as a coach is to hold up the makeup mirror for you, to take a deep, close look to, again, who you are, how you are, your why, and a combination of everything we've talked about, so that you can find the energy for you, your authentic energy, rather than the pumped in stuff from the outside saying that you should be. So maybe you're a person who maybe isn't feeling at your best today. I would say reach out for some support anywhere. The person next to you in the room, conversation out in the hallway, the after meeting later today. I'm sure there was lots of great support last night in the after meeting. I heard, and no, I don't want to talk about the score in the hockey game. Pardon? Oh, so I live 3 hours from Edmonton, and exactly. But helping us find it. And so if you're in a place where you might have lost some connections, or your connections to you or others, make sure you find it. And then finally, I wanted to share this with you because it is so popular in conversation. I've got so many leaders coming, asking for a coaching session to say, how do I get my people to take accountability? How do I get my people to take accountability? And my answer, of course, is stop. Stop trying. Stop trying to tell your people to be accountable and to take accountability, and instead nurture it within them. Help your people to see that they get to be accountable, and the game changes. And so think about that. What's the difference? Well, in our culture, of course, not just in club management, but in every organization, for the most part, the idea of accountability is that I will hold you accountable. And when you mess up, which you will, it's on you, right? That's normally the feeling of accountability. And so why do people avoid it? For obvious reasons, right? Instead, create the culture. Again, it's the part of the soil and the nurturing, but create the culture where people get to be accountable. And if you have great job plans, and if you have key result areas, and you're having regular meetings with your people, and you're talking about feedback and having conversations regularly, I can tell you that you really start to create the feeling of accountability. So help your people to see their accountability and that they get to be accountable versus I'm going to hold you. And there's power in language, everyone, and we often say watch your language because it's doing one of two things. It's either elevating, lifting up, or it's pushing down. And just those words of holding you accountable are powerful in a negative way. So I would invite you to take a look today, too, at the words you're choosing to use with you and your team. So there's some ideas that I bring directly from the world, your world, of club management and coaching conversations over the last year. As I said, it's a real privilege. But again, it comes from my perspective. And I'm smart enough to know this, that I'm not the smartest person in the room and that I don't have the answers. My role as a coach is not to have the answers, but it's to ask the questions. And so now I ask the very important question to you, and that is, how do you nurture greatness? How do you nurture greatness in your teams and at your club? And secondly, after today and this week, how will you decide to nurture greatness in this chapter? So I'm going to invite everybody to have a conversation. Maybe you turn to the person next to you, grab 3 people, and answer these 2 questions. We'd love to hear from you in a few minutes. So we're going to take 5 to sort of 7 minutes here. Have the conversation, 2 questions. How do you nurture greatness at your club? What ideas would you share? And secondly, how will you choose to nurture greatness in this chapter? So go ahead, have a conversation.
Why, thank you.
You are very...
Thank you.
Okay. You are very authentic. No, and your trust in the dictionary, I love this. I guess so, yeah. I guess we can. Yeah. Great job, ladies, and thank you for having here. Oh. And you missed it, yeah. And I apologize. Next time? No? Oh, you're the only apologize. You think so? What do you apologize? What is it? Introduced Barb and was cute. Barb was so cute. The Barb looks really nice. Oh my God, I forget to remember that except for her.
I don't know that I even did my first name. I was sitting when she introduced Barb and trying to spell teach, and I kept thinking,
Right here.
and I kept trying to say, did she do it in the beginning?
No, I like jumping back and forth just like I did at the meeting yesterday. She wanted us to wander around, but I was like, wander around. I think we're going to just hang out. Thank you for literally, like, when I, reach out to everybody, I'm like, hey, we have 3 months. We can do. Michael was so he was like, Michael, we got a room full of it. We can do this in 3 weeks if we had to. Yeah. Yeah, so am I. But that's why I was writing my speech again this morning. Oh, yeah. Your cadence was perfect. The tempo. Yeah, it was.
My heart went out at the first question.
Literally. Like, it's like, what did you say? I don't remember. I know that I didn't cover my bullet points. I just kind of went off script a little bit, but I was like, yeah.
I went off.
Yeah. I needed my notes there because I needed to keep, like,
To try and go away. But then my notes were taken really fast.
well, that's why I just started. I was like, hey, we're all going to go out that new year. We're all a little nervous. Like, bear with us. Rip that Band-Aid right off.
Like, I can tell you, I'm very happy. I
Oh, I'm the same way.
I do not.
I had to go back and watch the video. We had a video.
I don't remember any. They were actually because I probably my sister was like, what's your legacy? Repeat after me. Okay. Yeah, but this was awesome. Everyone had such a strong
have our own, but Beth will put it out and then we can all share it and get out there. And it'll go out and eat lots to the association. And I can't help it, that's what I know. And yeah, we wanted to do something that could be, yeah, and it is like those start and then yeah, because we may not always be the committee members, so whatever we do, that's why like I wanted the form to be standardized and like to try to be able to get it to where
I know. Okay, everyone, welcome back. Oops. Welcome back. We're going to have you share with the rest of the room some of your conversations. Awesome. We've got a couple. We've got Lorraine and Michael with microphones, and we'd love to hear from you. So what did you talk about in your group discussion there? What are some ways that you nurture greatness at your club, and what ideas do you have to nurture greatness in this chapter? So who would like to start us off, something that you talked about in your conversation? Who wants to start us off with ideas? Over here. Okay. Teresa from Harbor Ridge Yacht and Country Club. So we actually had two. One of the things that we do at our club is once a month, our GM will sit in the grill room and he'll invite staff from all departments to come and have lunch with him. And it's about a 45-minute, hour lunch, and it's security, grounds, whomever, but it gives him an opportunity to connect with the staff, lets them feel heard and valued, and then he'll bring that back to the leadership afterwards and say, hey, I had lunch with this team, here's some things I think that they're struggling with, some things that we can do to make them feel more successful in their role. And then behind me here, we had a gentleman at their club. They do a 2-12, so they have their daily lineups every day. And then what they do is once a week, they invite part of their team to actually lead their lineups. So it's not always the leaders leading the lineups. The team is engaged and the team is feeling like they're a part of it, they own it, and they get to sit and they get to kind of conduct these lineups and let them feel, what it's like to be a leader. Part of it. Thank you, Teresa. Awesome. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Who's next?
Gotta have some takers on this side of the room. Okay.
I didn't talk about this, but it reminded me, we have a leaders council at ours where our general manager has 2 people or 1 or 2 people from each department. Hourly employees meet with him every couple of months, and they just talk through the different challenges that they're having. And it's all anonymous. He doesn't come back to the department heads and tell us, oh, this person said this. But it just gives them an opportunity to have open feedback and dialogue with him about what's going on in their departments.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Next. Right. Who's next? What idea would you share from your club or your conversation? Or what idea to have for this chapter? There's a lot of conversation out there. Here we go, up here, Lorraine. Michael, over here.
Where am I going?
Right here, Michael. Thank you.
Like your jacket, Michael. You know, we took an interesting tour that was a little bit different. I'm Michael Gibson from Grand Harbor Golf and Beach Club. We talked about the transition that we go through every year between J1, H2B, and our local market. And it is a difficult transition. We're just getting over it from the season. We had 34 H2Bs. They all left a couple of weeks ago, and then we're left with our staff. You know, most of them are new, most of them transition. And we just talked about, you know, how do we tackle that challenge to nurture those local people to stay with us and to grow and to be there year in and year out. And you know, we need the H2Bs, the H2Bs and the J1s. They're our lifeline in the season, but we really probably have to do a better job at how we nurture the local market.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yes. Who else? Idea you would share with the room? Mm-hmm. Yeah, up here. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Britton Jorgensen from the Breakers in Palm Beach, Florida. One thing that we did for work-life balance, it's kind of a company initiative that we started about a year ago, is that we do the team members' schedule a month in advance, so that they have time to plan out their lives over the next 3 to 4 weeks ahead. So before we were doing it, you know, a week in advance, so you didn't get your schedule, so you couldn't really plan out your life. So now they have 3 to 4 weeks ahead scheduled, so they can see what days they're off, so that they know when they can plan things. So that's been a really positive thing that we've made for work-life balance.
Is anybody else in the room?
Good afternoon, everyone. Michael Nato, Delray Dunes Golf Country Club. We do, you know, the daily pre-meals like everyone here does, and then the weekly, but also getting in the shoes of your steps of your staff, going behind the bar, making sure everything's perfect, but also asking what the service needs, what the bartenders need to do their job efficiently, what the staff needs, what your setup house needs. Even though we have a BO, might have a wedding for 200 people, there's 1,000 details, but you really got to drill down and see what your staff really needs to get the job done without you micromanaging. Just to be there to support supplies.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thanks, Michael. Yeah. Okay.
Shelley, I'll go with one.
Okay.
One of the things that I do at my country club, or the clubs that I've been at, is employee and team engagement. And it goes beyond just making your team members feel engaged in their workplace, but also when you're doing your team team meetings, putting some fun into it. So we do what we're called icebreakers, and we make each department in charge of the monthly all-team meeting and creating the icebreaker for the whole group. So the icebreakers are anything from, as silly as it sounds, I'm not sure if anybody's seen them before, but the Oreo cookie races that you stand at the front of the room and you put an Oreo cookie on your forehead, and without your hands, you have to get the Oreo cookie from your forehead to your mouth. And the team that's left standing then gets a gas card as their reward for participating in that. We also do a hula hoop challenge where we get a set of hula hoops and we divide all of the team members into different groups, and they all have to lock hands, and then you have to step through the hula hoops together as a team without unlocking your hands. So if you do some of these things at your monthly team meetings or however often you have those team meetings, it puts a little bit of fun into the perspective of building that team and working together versus it all about the position description all the time. So that's one of the things that I would bring to the table or suggest with the group here is how do you engage your team beyond just the job that they do and the service that they provide, but in being and having fun together.
That is nurturing greatness. Thanks, Lorraine. Okay. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Also, the club that I find myself at encourages very strongly the life-work harmony, as I call it. And one of the initiatives that comes from our leader is instructor-led training sessions twice a week for all employees, and the newest initiative that hopefully will take off soon, it's yoga. With the stress levels are very high in all our jobs. We always thinking, always sending emails. And this, I've been a practitioner for many years, and it's a great result to just find your zen and disconnect completely from everything. And that is all supported by the club.
Okay. Let me ask you a different question. You heard the ladies up here and Michael talk about women in club management and planting the seed and having the intention of building, of growing, of nurturing greatness, not just in women, but in everybody in your chapter and in the club industry. What question do you have for them? What question do you have you would like to know about anything that they've talked about today or are about to take on? Or what idea? Go ahead, David.
What do you perceive as the biggest barrier to your success in the industry?
So, biggest barrier to your success in the industry.
I would say probably some of the preconceived still gender biases. I will tell an embarrassing story that I'm ashamed to admit now, but back then I was young, so I went for my first F&B job, and I was 27, and I took my wedding ring off because I thought if he knows that I'm married, he's gonna put the time frame together and go, well, she's gonna have kids, and then she's not gonna be as committed to the job because her role as a mother is to, so part of this, again, being for everyone is I want it to be normal for the dad to want to go to the dance recital and to the football game and to be the one that stays home maybe on a day where the kids are sick. It should be normal for everyone. In my household, my husband was taking care of the kids this week, so I could be here at conference, and it's a balance. And so trying to break that away and not make it, it's not just that we're the caretakers, it should be that the guys in the room, we've changed a lot and we've evolved, I think, as humans, where the dads want to be involved now. It's not we go to work and you take care of the kids, and we want the dads to have that freedom too, to say, hey, I want to be there with my kid. So I think getting away from those gender stereotypes, even putting ourselves in those boxes, trying to get away from that. And as leaders, normalizing that at the club, talking about your family, it's okay to talk about your family. You should be proud of your family, your friends, your what you're doing. Trying to normalize that across the board, essentially.
Great question, David. Any other questions for this team of ladies? Yes.
Thanks, Marco. For 1 second, I want to piggyback on Kelly's comment about family. I got my first GM job in 1987, and one of the guys on the board said, "You're not going to get pregnant, are you?" So the times have changed, and she's right. It's about men and women. It's about you guys going to your kids' baseball games and women doing the same thing. But to Marco's point, I think it's things like this. I think it's bringing the community together so it isn't us and them. I will tell you, when the women in club management thing first started, I was very much against it. Not this group, but many years ago when it started at National, because I didn't want to be looked at as a woman club manager. I wanted to just be a club manager who was a woman. So I think we've really, really evolved by creating spaces like this that are not just women, inclusive of everyone, but also about women. You all have women working for you, so it's good for you to understand how women are different or different in the workplace. And so I think it's community things like this that will bring us together and keep us together. And it's incumbent upon all of us to make that happen. It's not just the women driving it, the guys have to do it too.
Hi, Mike. I want to add to what Lou and Kelly was saying and everybody was saying. I think for me, it's not the women and the men as much as from when I was younger. It's a little bit about that, but it was more the networking opportunities. Many of us as younger managers in the industry don't seem to feel like we have the same networking opportunities that some of the more seasoned managers have, that know each other, have been to conference together, have been to the BMIs together, have been to the different events together. And I think that what we should all do, whether men or women, inclusive together, is to reach out to those younger managers and be a mentor or provide that type of networking opportunity to get them engaged and to get them involved. Because that's how we all grow, is by meeting each other, by learning from each other, and by sharing with each other. We are a tribe, and we're a tribe together. So let's be inclusive and let's reach out to each other.
Any last question? Yes, go ahead. Oh, wow. How do we get involved?
I love that question. So I'm going to slide ahead. Maybe. So it starts with involving your team. So the way this initiative works and the way it grows forward is we're all in this room and we're blessed to be here as members of CMAA, FLCMAA. Not everybody in our team has that ability, and the club doesn't always have the resources to have everybody on the team. But you have rock stars out there. You have a server that has the it that's going to be a GM someday, if that's what they want to be. And how do we give them resources? We've got the great program with Toro where we can bring guests to in-person sessions, but these are going to be open to everyone. And so it's going to be on everyone in this room. You guys are on the email lists. You're going to get the monthly reminder for these save the dates. And these are just the first 4 that we've got. We've got Shelly coming back to continue the conversation in July. We've got Sarah Mueller August 1st, Marcy Mills September 5th, and we've got Adrian Wright on October 3rd. We'll have more dates coming. But when you get those emails, give your staff, find those people and rotate them out. Make sure they know. Get them if you put 10 of them in a room and put it on the big screen, get them in front of these resources, get them involved and get them to grow. This is free. It's a free resource. They don't have to be a member. We want to open it up to everyone and we want it to be inclusive. The Florida Initiative, it's going to be on LinkedIn and it's going out to the entire country because we have a lot of clubs here and there might be a rock star in New York or New Jersey or Connecticut or wherever, or the clubs that have less resources than we do, Oregon and Idaho, that they're on these and they see what the Florida CMA is about, and we're growing and we're nurturing greatness. It's not just about us in this room or us in this state. It's about all of us. It's about keeping clubs thriving. Hotels have a lot of money and a lot of resources. We need to get out to the students. We need to get out there and make clubs the place people want to work, because it is really exceptional. I've worked in hotels and restaurants. I will say, unbiasedly, clubs are exceptional against those, so we need to get out there. So it's gonna be on all of you. We're tasking all of you. That's how you're gonna get involved. And these committees will change out, I'm sure, and we'll add as we grow. So if you raise your hand, email, communicate, let us know how you want to be involved. We'd like to have a few on-site ones, so if your club wants to host, we love the involvement, please. We want to get people involved and we want to keep this growing. This isn't a one-year initiative, we're going the distance with this, okay? So thank you, that was a great question, Angel.
Thanks. Sadly, just a few years ago, Ann Townsend passed away of cancer. And I've realized over the years that not only was she a friend and a mentor of mine, but she also went one step further, and she was what I call a sponsor. She wasn't just interested in helping me start my career in club management, she was committed. And I think that's the difference, everyone, between a mentor and a sponsor. And we all need mentors. Absolutely. But I would appeal to all of you. For those of you that are younger leaders and aspiring women or of any gender in the industry, yes, find mentors, but do whatever you can to find a sponsor. The person who will take you further, the person who will go out on a limb, use their agency to help you to grow and develop. And for those of you who are seasoned club managers, I'm asking you to be a mentor of people, regardless of their gender and all of the other perhaps differences, but I'm asking you to also be a sponsor, to find someone that you will go out on a limb for and help them, yes, in their career, but in their life. Ann Townsend, for me, was not just a person, a friend, a mentor, or a sponsor. She was a person who changed my life. To the world, everyone, you may just be one person, but to one person, you may be the world. Thank you.
Shelley, thank you. Thank you so much for leading us through this today. And ladies, thank you so much for leading our organization through the effort to nurture greatness. We appreciate it from all of you. Round of applause, please. Now, many of us know that Shelley and Kevin, sorry. Shelley and Kevin run a great coaching program, but in addition to that, run something called the Extraordinary Leader Program. Many of you I know have participated, and hopefully some of your teams as well. Today, a little special program. Shelley and Kevin have donated to us a certificate for that program for you all to participate. Up to 6 people, Shelley, I think I remember. I think it's up to 6 people. Is that the 5? Thank you. Perfect. And it's valued at $2,500. And so we'd like to take the last couple minutes today and just do an auction, raising some money for our association's education effort, and auction off the certificate if we can. So I'd like to ask for a first opening bid from someone, please. It's $25,000. We've got $2,000 up here from Luann. Thank you. And any other hands in the audience here? All right, well, I'm going to go $2,100. I'm going to bid against you. 2,200. Yes, ma'am. Oh, yes, it would. Thank you. All right, we're going to talk this up in a minute. Shelley, go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, so for the past 17 years, we've been leading a program called the Extraordinary Leader. It's a leadership program that comes from a coaching perspective. It's not just about information. The number one thing it's about is interaction and community and doing something with the information. We can all get information, but this is different in that we gather the great information about how to be a great leader, a leader first for yourself and a leader then of others, and then we put it into action. So it's all about practicing and creating the habits of great leaders. It's a 12-month program, and what we've given to the chapter is the ability to have up to 5 or 6 of your people, if that's what it is, to join in. It's monthly calls, all via Zoom. For our main calls, they're recorded because we know at Tuesdays at 4 o'clock, they may not be able to be on every call. So it's all there for you. It's built around the club industry. Club professionals from around North America are on every call. We have every type of leader, from first-time leader, we even have students all the way up to GMs and CEOs of clubs involved in the program. We have mini interaction groups. We have what we call mini coaching gyms where we put the information into action. And it's like mini masterminds with the opportunity of having those 3 times a week. So lots of opportunity to grow and learn as a leader and support other leaders. So that's what we do.
Thank you, Shelley.
Yes.
I know I can speak from our perspective. We had some of our staff participate. They're really, really helpful. So thank you. So I think we're at, go ahead.
We're at 2,200.
I did it. It was really great. I loved it.
Yes. 5 of my staff have already done this, and I would like 5 more of them to do it, so I'm going to go to 2,500.
Is anybody else interested in this? All right, well, excellent, and thank you very much. I'll tell you what I'll do is the Drew Brown Club will match that, so we'll get 2 of these at $2,500. And Shelley, thank you so much for helping us with all of this. Beth, could you give us the code for today, please?
Mentor. And I did that in advance.
Everybody, enjoy your conference.
Great. We'll be back at 1:30. Lunch is served in the foyer. And this will be your last chance to see the vendor showcase during this time period, so please make sure you go back.
Can we get a picture in front of the group? Yeah. With the group in front of the, we'll get it in the Nurturing Greatness.